So me and Mike are here with you guys today. We're going to chat about this idea of know, like, trust when you talk with a business owner or someone that you're selling a product to. So Mike, let's talk. We've talked multiple times about know, like, trust, and we've talked about it in kind of a time frame type thing, to where in 5 to 10 minutes you can know someone. In 30 minutes you can like someone. In an hour to 2 hours you can trust someone. Where did that time frame come from, and kind of what's the process with that?
Yeah, so it's actually even simpler than that, I think, is that you know somebody in 10 seconds. You meet them, you shake their hand, all the rest of that. This is all a way to make it so sales happens quicker and honestly more effectively. First step is just knowing somebody in 10 seconds. You know somebody on the street, you know a neighbor, you know an uncle that you never met, right? Like he just comes up, I'm Uncle Todd, right? Shake hand. You like somebody in about 10 minutes, but you've got to spend that time, 10 minutes, hearing at least a little bit about their life, enjoying what they like to talk about, spending time hearing, just the basic areas of what they are. You're allowed to kind of categorize them. That's just kind of how we survive. So in 10 minutes, you start to like somebody and you decide, I like this individual. It takes about 30 minutes to be able to trust them, to want to do any kind of business with them, right? I don't want to do business with somebody that I just barely met, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. Trust is learned and earned and all the rest of those kinds of things here. But you have to go through those steps. And the goal in sales is to make that time frame as short as possible, right? The larger the sale, obviously, the longer it takes to earn the trust. The shorter the sale, the less time it takes to earn the trust. If you're doing somebody at a gas station, well, I trust you. You're wearing the gas station clothes here. I'm going to hand you my money, and I hope that you're going to hand me my drink, right? Whatever that interaction is. I need a very low level of trust. When I'm handing you financial documents, when I'm handing you, like in my industry before in the law, it was handing over my kids or my property or the biggest lawsuit that I'll ever have. They want to make sure that they know you really well and that they trust that the direction that you're going to take it is the way that you're going to take it. So I find it really hard to enjoy like lunches with people. I think that lunch is the most overused, overvalued, and underuseful. That's not even a word, but underuseful way to get to know somebody. Because you show up there, you shake hands, you know them within the first 10 seconds. You start to like them by the time lunch is over because you spent a half an hour, maybe an hour with them. But half of that was talking to the waitress. Half of that was, sharing anecdotes about life that still fall in that kind of trusty area. So the goal is, how fast can you make a connection with somebody, spend time talking with them, hear their thoughts, respond to their thoughts, and thereby kind of have a mutual ground of wherever you're going to live, right? In order to be able to make some massive deal or some sale, whatever you're trying to do. So I like to say 10 seconds, 10 minutes, half an hour, because that's kind of the core when as a lawyer, that's about the amount of time that I need to know your case, to believe in your case, and to show you where I would go if I were your brother taking this same case, right? Half an hour is all I need, right? But again, if you're handing me $1 billion and saying, manage this $1 billion for me, it might be 6 hours before you trust me. It might be 12, right? The goal is, how fast can I shorten that? And I think that things like lunch or inviting somebody golfing, a lot of times that can take away from the exact thing that you're trying to build, because it's just extending the time slightly, right? Doesn't mean that they're not useful, right? A lot of times you don't get the opportunity to get that half an hour of like somebody without inviting them to lunch because they don't have any reason to spend time with you. Lunch as a mechanism of building relationships, it's a lot harder now. And I think it just distracts from the sales process.
Yeah, there's this concept that they talk about in sales a lot. You need 7 to 8 touches or times talking with someone in order for a sale to go through. I think the larger the sale, like you talked about, is the longer that number gets. In what I've done most of my life in sales, I'm currently in the finance world where I'm working with people and trying to get them to move forward with making some sort of investment or doing something along those lines. There's this weird thing where when someone is handing you $100,000 and their net worth is $1 million, it is a lot harder for them to make that choice than someone who has $100 million and is giving you $10 million. It changes the way people trust you, the higher and larger that offer is. I've worked with so many clients where it's just, yep, this is the need I have. Can you solve it? Yep, this is what I can solve that. This is where we would do what we would do with that. Okay, let's move forward. But I've also met with someone who's giving me $10,000 and I talk with them. It's eight months down the road, they reach back out and they're like, oh, well, I need to get it done. Okay, let's meet again. Nothing happens. 8 months more down the road. And it's just this weird, interesting caveat of how wealthy someone is or how much your ask is versus how much that no
For
like
sure.
trust thing functions and with the type of person, the caliber of person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I feel like I'd rather work with someone who is at a higher scale just because it provides better working relationship.
And there's a lot less fear of loss, fear of scarcity. Listen, you don't get to $100 million net worth without having a tolerance for risk that is probably much higher than most individuals, right? Just generally speaking. And so it probably has something to do with that. But I'll also push back on, in fact, I won't even push back. I'll add on to the idea of there's a lot of times divorcing parents will say something where, oh, I don't get a lot of quantity time with my kids, but I get a lot of quality time. That's the biggest crock of bull that I've ever heard in my entire life. It's ridiculous. The idea here is that the only way that you have quality time with an individual is under quantity, because you have to have bad quality time to have good quality time. You can't just always have good quality time. If you're always in Disneyland, it's never Disneyland, right? You have to have these Thursday nights with your kids where you're trying to do homework with them and they're just the worst kids in the world and you're mad, right? You have to have those low quality moments so that the high quality moments, whatever those might be, resonate. Same thing happens when you're meeting somebody else and you're trusting them. You're going to have that moment where, okay, this guy just screwed up a little bit, right? He didn't fulfill my expectations. He didn't do exactly what I wanted when he needed to. Whatever those are we going to do something that we forgive each other in this? Is this a step that we can repair that? Do we have enough trust with each other that you can go into a little bit of debt with me and rebuild that trust? Quantity time is the biggest marker for whether or not you're going to trust somebody, because you spend more time. The longer time that you spend with somebody, the more flexible you have to be. You have to have been able to have a good relationship with them, a bad relationship with them, seen them at their worst, seen them at their best. Our goal in sales is to just crush that as small as we can so that the moment in time that that's happening is so minuscule. So yes, you want quantity time, but it needs to be as quality as you can make it. It's this weird little balance that you're constantly chasing. But again, it's one of the reasons social media has been such a game changer in this avenue, is because social media allows for people to spend hours with somebody that they wouldn't otherwise have a moment to spend with, right? I spent more time in YouTube podcasts, and I trust these people for some weird reason. They give me news, and I trust them enough to take that news and repeat it to somebody else that I like, right? That could hate me for saying the news that I'm saying, oh, these are the facts that this person said. In fact, I'd argue that that's half of the political discourse and the problems that we have as individuals right now, is we have people that they trust on the internet that they've never met in person on both sides, and they're just proxy arguing a lot of these things. But it gives a great thing for business owners and for people that are trying to get into sales, because you can leverage that exchange of knowledge and that exchange of trust through a lot of different digital media that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to 40 years ago. That's why taking out to lunch, going out, taking somebody to golf 40 years ago, business was done, like Michael Scott says, business is done at Chili's, right? You know what I mean? Business was done at Chili's. You know where business is done now? It's Zoom, right? People have gotten that connection. People can build the same level of trust here. It's how can I bring something of value to somebody to the point where they see what I've brought and absorb it, enjoy it, and they can utilize it as best they can, right?
Yeah, one of the places I think salespeople undervalue, and something I've noticed and started doing more of personally in just other businesses that I've worked with and been in, is the value of someone else's know, like, trust journey. You can shrink that gap minuscule if you take someone that has already built the know, like, trust process with them, a CPA, a friend, someone else that has done that already. They already trust that person. If that person says, yeah, this is the person I would use, your know, like, trust time frame is 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
That whole process goes through and you're pretty much already at trust. You just have to provide them the understanding.
Yeah.
And then that whole know, like, trust, you didn't even have to do it because someone else said, hey, use this person. Someone that you already trust said, hey, go use this person. They'll treat you well. They'll do what you need. That's so undervalued, I feel.
Oh, absolutely.
By most business owners. If you can just do good. And that's what every business owner's desire is to provide a good service, provide something good to someone, and then use those people that you provide something good for as the whole know, like, trust journey. Then someone else will come in and say, yes, I want to do business with you, or I want your product, or I want your thing because someone told me to come use it and do it.
Well, it's almost like reversing the whole process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trust is already done. And so now you're spending the time getting to know me and getting to like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just, now you're almost, it's a great sales thing because it's almost like they're ratifying the decision that they already made.
Mm-hmm. And that trust process is probably the longest part of that whole process.
100%.
Is getting that trust is the part that takes, because you can know and like someone in an hour.
Yeah.
Trusting someone takes iteration after iteration after iteration. So I think it takes that whole process and then crams it into, like you just said, trust is already there.
Yeah. Well, and you find, okay, so additionally to that, sorry, I love these topics. Additionally to that is that it's the reason that referrals are the gold standard of business, right? If you want something, if you really are trying to blow up, it's the reason that everyone says, mind the referrals that you've got, go back to the referrals. Who do you know that has the same kind of issue that might need the same? You see it, the guy's knocking at your door. They understand the value of this because they say, hey, this person up the street got got our solar, and this person down the street, even if nobody in the street has gotten the solar yet, because they are trying to build out a moment of trust here of like, all your neighbors trusted us. You can trust us too, right? Inauthentic as that might be, because they might not have actually received solar yet. The first person that you're knocking the door, they're doing the same pitch to, but inauthentic as that might be, the value is there, and the value is sufficient enough that oftentimes it works. And even with people that they don't know, it's also crazy that you'll do so much more for somebody that is like the friend of a friend than oftentimes you'll do for your own friend. That connection comes because now I almost like your wife more than I like you because she has to put up with you and I like you. You know what I mean? Like there's a weird little connection. If I go into lunch as couples and I talk to your wife, I like her more just because generally speaking, you've shown me that you trust her. Therefore, now it's just a moment of, all right, we're already in trust moment here. Are we going to tease and make fun of Joey for a minute here? Yeah, absolutely we are, right? It allows you to skip a lot of those moments of friendship building that if you classically making friends in a university setting where you go up, hi, I'm John, we're working on this project together and spending a bunch of time together. It's a lot easier when John is just like, hey, this is Keith. Keith and you are friends now. Yeah, you're both gonna tease me? Awesome. Game on. We're gonna tease him for his hair. Great. Welcome to friendship immediately. And friendship immediately, like honestly, if we're boiling business down to what it is, bad business, I think, does business with everybody. Good business does business almost like a playground style, where this is just fun, right? This world is just fun. This whole thing is a game. And our goal is to make it so everybody wins in this game. It changes the way that you even walk through business here. It changes the way that you share referrals. It changes the way that you do business with individuals because it's a game of chasing fun, right? Business is fun. So,
yeah,
just my thought.
Yeah, I love this idea of this topic of just understanding that process that we go through with everyone. Because in business, the one caveat that separates a good business from a bad business normally is the quantity of people that get through the doors and the amount of those people that end up purchasing whatever they have, and that's what pushes the business forward. There's some other caveats that do happen, but mostly a good business is one that can convert on the sales and the leads that come through.
Yep.
And so if you can just understand these small pieces to just lower that percentage, that time frame, then it just accelerates even more. Is there any last things you want to say?
No, I don't even know where I first got this know, like, trust portion of things. I don't know if I read it someplace or wherever it is, but it has been infinitely valuable in everything that I've done. One of the greatest things that I've found in know, like, trust, the fastest to accelerate that trust process. A lot of it is time, but one step of accelerating that trust process is studies have shown that if I move into a neighborhood and you're in this neighborhood and I ask you for a small favor, and you come and do that small favor, whatever the small favor might be, even though you've done me the favor, you have a better perception of me than I even have of you, even though you were the one that did the favor for me. A lot of the times here, we do small little asks, little tiny things, because those little tiny things start to add up where the other side starts feeling, that they did something for you. It was a kindness, whatever that might be. That kindness translates to sales because it translates to trust. I recommend in all of these know, like, trust moments of time, it is give a small piece of homework. When you're working with somebody for the first time, give a small piece of homework where they feel some small obligation to do something, whatever that might be, because they feel good that they've accomplished what they wanted to do with you. You feel good because they're actually moving towards whatever that sale might be. And the relationship is one of, oh, we do things for each other, right? I love one guy that I went to a sales thing with. I showed up, I was working as an attorney, and I showed up, and it was the silliest thing. But he'd called up my office beforehand and said, hey, I'm going to be 5 minutes early to the restaurant. And we did go out to eat, which probably wasn't great, but based on what I just said, but we were going out to the restaurant. He's called up and he said, what does Mike like to drink? He had my number. He could have called me. He didn't. And so when I showed up there it was. I had a Diet Coke with lime in it. He said, I took the liberty of getting you a Diet Coke with lime. And I said, thank you. That's awesome. How'd you know it was my drink? He's like, you just got to know these things. And that moment right there was like, that's impressive. And I got back to the office. I'm like, he knew my drink. And my secretary at the time was like, oh yeah, he called a few minutes earlier. Like that moment of forethought, like it was, not only was it just a kindness that he did towards me that created an element of trust here, but it also was something that was really, really funny, right? Or at least something that I found amusing. There are a billion ways of being able to reduce no like trust really quickly, right? Smiling at somebody reduces no like trust in some capacity, right? The goal is for you as an individual to find the way that you connect with somebody very quickly, that you build that relationship very quickly, and get to the stage where the ask is not hard. It's not even an ask for a sale. It's just, this is what's happening because you trust me. John, I'm never going to lead you astray, right? That's why you should hand me that $100 million and let me invest it for you because I'm your brother and I'm never going to lead you astray, right? Get to that stage quick.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode, just chatting about business, interviewing business owners, and trying to help you guys understand what it's like to start a business, keep a business going,